his pocket and shoving it under my nose. He's the champion faster of the universe. I guess that's why Sis got soft on him. He don't eat nothing. He's going to fast 49 days. This is the 6th. That's him." I looked at the name Thomas pointed out, Professor Eduardo Collieri. "Ah," says I, in admiration, "that's not so bad. Ed Collier, I give you credit for the trick. But I don't give you the girl until she's Mrs. Freight." I hit the sod in the direction of the show. I came up to the rear of the tent, and as I did so a man wiggled out like a snake from under the bottom of the canvas, scrambled to his feet, and ran into me like a locoed bronco. I gathered him up by the neck and investigated him by the light of the stars. It is Professor Eduardo Collieri, in human habiliments, with a desperate look in one eye and impatience in the other. "Hello, curiosity," says I. "Get still a minute and let's have a look at your freak ship. How do you like being the Willopus Wallopus, or the Bim Bam from Borneo, or whatever name you are denounced by in the sideshow business?" "Jeff Peters," says Collier in a weak voice, "turn me loose, or I'll slug you one. I'm in the extremest kind of a large hurry. Hands off." "Tut, tut, Eddie," I answers, holding him hard. "Let an old friend gaze on the exhibition of your curiousness. It's an eminent graft you fell into, my son. But don't speak of assaults and battery, because you're not fit. The best you've got is a lot of nerve and a mighty empty stomach." And so it was. The man was as weak as a vegetarian cat. "I'd argue this case with you, Jeff," says he, regretful in his style, "for an unlimited number of rounds if I had half an hour to train in and a slab of beefsteak 2 feet square to train with. Curse the man, I say, that invented the art of going foodless. May his soul in eternity be chained up within 2 feet of a bottomless pit of red hot hash. I'm abandoning the conflict, Jeff. I'm deserting to the enemy. You'll find Miss Dugan inside contemplating the only living mummy and the informed hog. She's a fine girl, Jeff. I'd have beat you out if I could have kept up the grubless habit a little while longer. You'll have to admit that the fasting dodge was aces up for a while. I figured it out that way. But say, Jeff, it's sad that love makes the world go round. Let me tell you, the announcement lacks verification. It's the wind from the dinner horn that does it. I love that Mame Dugan. I've gone 6 days without food in order to coincide with her sentiments. Only one bite did I have. That was when I knocked the tattooed man down with a war club and got a sandwich he was gobbling. The manager fined me all my salary, but salary wasn't what I was after. 'Twas that girl. I'd give my life for her, but I'd endanger my immortal soul for a beef stew. Hunger is a horrible thing, Jeff. Love and business and family and religion and art and patriotism are nothing but shadows of words when a man's starving." In such language Ed Collier discoursed to me, pathetic. I gathered the diagnosis that his affections and his digestions had been implicated in a scramble and the commissary had won out. I never disliked Ed Collier. I searched my internal admonitions of suitable etiquette to see if I could find a remark of a consoling nature, but there was none convenient. "I'd be glad now," says Ed, "if you'll let me go. I've been hard hit, but I'll hit the ration supply harder. I'm going to clean out every restaurant in town. I'm going to wade waist deep in sirloins and swim in ham and eggs. It's an awful thing, Jeff Peters, for a man to come to this pass, to give up his girl for something to eat. It's worse than that man Esau, that swapped his copyright for a partridge. But then, hunger's a fierce thing. You'll excuse me now, Jeff, for I smell a pervasion of ham frying in the distance, and my legs are crying out to stampede in that direction." "A hearty meal to you, Ed Collier," I says to him, "and no hard feelings. For myself, I am projected to be an unseldom eater, and I have condolence for your predicaments. There was a sudden big whiff of frying ham smell on the breeze, and the champion faster gives a snort and gallops off in the dark toward fodder. I wish some of the cultured outfit that are always advertising the extenuating circumstances of love and romance had been there to see. There was Ed Collier, a fine man full of contrivances and flirtations, abandoning the girl of his heart and ripping out into the contiguous territory in the pursuit of sordid grub. 'Twas a rebuke to the poets, and a slap at the best paying element of fiction. An empty stomach is a sure antidote to an overfull heart. I was naturally anxious to know how far Mame was infatuated with Collier and his stratagems. I went inside the unparalleled exhibition, and there she was. She looked surprised to see me, but I'm guilty. "It's an elegant evening outside," says I. "The coolness is quite nice and gratifying, and the stars are lined out, first class, up where they belong. Wouldn't you shake these by products of the animal kingdom long enough to take a walk with a common human who never was on a programme in his life?" Mame gave a sort of sly glance around, and I knew what that meant. "Oh," says I hate to tell you, but the curiosity that lives on wind has flew the coop. He just crawled out under the tent. By this time he has amalgamated himself with half the delicatessen truck in town." "You mean Ed Collier?" says Mame. "I do," I answers, "and a pity it is that he has gone back to crime again. I met him outside the tent, and he exposed his intentions of devastating the food crop of the world. 'Tis enormously sad when one's ideal descends from his pedestal to make a 17-year locust of himself." Mame looked me straight in the eye until she had corkscrewed my reflections. "Jeff," says she, "it isn't quite like you to talk that way. I don't care to hear Ed Collier ridiculed. A man may do ridiculous things, but they don't look ridiculous to the girl he does 'em for. That was one man in 100. He stopped eating just to please me. I'd be hard‐hearted and ungrateful if I didn't feel kindly toward him. Could you do what he did?" "I know," says I, seeing the point. "I'm condemned. I can't help it. The brand of the consumer is upon my brow. Mrs. Eve settled that business for me when she made the dicker with the snake. I fell from the fire into the frying pan. I guess I'm the champion feaster of the universe." I spoke humble, and Mame mollified herself a little. "Ed Collier and I are good friends," she said, "the same as me and you." I gave him the same answer I did you. No marrying for me. I liked to be with Ed and talk with him. There was something mighty pleasant to me in the thought that here was a man who never used a knife and fork, and all for my sake. "Wasn't you in love with him?" I asked, all injudicious. "Wasn't there a deal on for you to become Mrs. Curiosity?" "All of us do it sometimes. All of us get jostled out of the line of profitable talk now and then." Mame put on that little lemon glacé smile that runs between ice and sugar, and says, much too pleasant, "You're short on credentials for asking that question, Mr. Peters. Suppose you do a 49-day fast just to give you ground to stand on, and then maybe I'll answer it." So even after Collier was kidnapped out of the way by the revolt of his appetite, my own prospects with Mame didn't seem to be improved, and then business played out in Guthrie. I had stayed too long there. The Brazilians I had sold commenced to show signs of wear, and the kindler refused to light up right frequent on wet mornings. There is always a time, in my business, when the star of success says, "Move on to the next town." I was traveling by wagon at that time so as not to miss any of the small towns, so I hitched up a few days later and went down to tell Mame good bye. I wasn't abandoning the game. I intended running over to Oklahoma City and work it for a week or two. Then I was coming back to institute fresh proceedings against Mame.